Hello, and welcome to Recent Activity, your new favorite entertainment review podcast that attempts to cover every film, every show, all at once. I am your co-host, Andrew Morgan. With me, as always, is the president of the Eric Stoltz fan club, Mr. Shane Beauregard.
What's up?
And we have a special guest with us today from the yet another DC animated podcast, our network's resident DC Comics correspondent, Chamar Griffith. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to take a step away from News 52. I guess that's our behind the scenes way of calling our show sometimes. I'm happy to be here to just talk about what we're talking about today and also get a chance to talk to you guys about it too.
Yeah, it's you get the live action version of The Flash for once, you know. So
I know,
whether that's a good or bad thing, we'll get to in a minute. Did you guys cover Flashpoint? I thought you guys covered some level of that stuff. Yeah?
Yeah, that was our first episode, actually. We did a little intro prior to that just to get an understanding of who we are. And then we jumped right into Flashpoint, the DC animated movie that they did back in 2013, I believe.
Yeah, so you probably don't even know what Earth you're on right now. You're probably so far up and down with this multiverse stuff and time travel and now Back to the Future references galore. So, you know, I'm sure we're all in a dizzying state right now. But as you said, we will be talking about The Flash, which came out over the weekend. A movie that somebody said the other day, it felt like it came out 2 months ago. And I was like, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Between how many times we've had to, you know, discuss Ezra Miller, or I've heard a podcast talk about Ezra Miller off-camera issues that he's had, and I'm sorry. They have had. I'm going to screw that up. I'm going to try to get my pronouns as perfect as I possibly can, but it's a learning battle. But yeah, this movie, it's just between the DC crossover with James Gunn and them kind of like simultaneously heralding this movie behind the scenes, but also going to scrap probably most of the things that will happen between now and whenever they officially kick it off, because we have this and Aquaman still left from a previous regime. But this movie, man, I can't wait to talk about it because it's one of those movies that is being beat up in certain circles. It's being heralded in certain circles. And honestly, I understand a little bit of both, so it'll be an interesting conversation. It's also bombing, guys. It's also, I don't know if you guys have seen the box office. One of the things that I'm curious to know, and Chamar, I can start with you because we're all in different states, so this will be interesting to actually get a good feel. When I saw the movie, I was shocked at how little people were in the theater, but I also saw it on a Sunday night. But, you know, to me, every time I saw, like, you know, these other bigger movies like your Guardians or, you know, Spider-Verse or any of these other ones, they were all packed. And so when I saw the crowd on Sunday night, I was like, oh, boy. So was it the same experience you had as well?
Yeah, pretty much. Funny story about that. Andrew is the co-host on my show on another DC animated podcast.
Yeah.
We both planned out to go see this movie at the exact same time, exact same theater. I ran completely late, and I was still able to get a ticket to opening night that same night.
Oof. Yeah.
And it was just same situation, just as empty. I had a lot of space between me and other people, which is really funny because you're right. This is the first time that I've gone to a movie premiere opening night where it didn't feel like I was walking on top of people or even felt I was running late.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, even movies that didn't hold up to expectations, I've had much bigger crowds, and it shows. I mean, the movie has done only $138.7 million total. That's between domestic and international, with only $55.7 million domestic over the weekend. For comparison, Spider-Verse did 120.6, so it didn't even do half of what Spider-Verse did. And Guardians 3 was 118, Ant-Man 3 was 106, so yikes when it comes to that. Shane, did you have a similar experience? I almost got a whole row to myself. I was excited.
Yeah, no, actually, I went Thursday at like 3 o'clock. So opening day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, you go for the early bird special. I forgot.
I go for the early bird special. And honestly, it was about 3/4 of the way packed. And as I was leaving the theater, so like the 5 o'clock crowd coming in, there was a lot of activity at the movie theater. So I was surprised to hear the numbers because down here, I mean, people went to see it this week. And every time I drove by the theater, like it was just packed with people. So I had about, again, 75% capacity at my theater at 3, and that's 3 o'clock on a Thursday. So
do you think, and before we get into the actual movie, do you think that the actual Ezra Miller stuff, which isn't like on everybody's, radar, the average moviegoer probably doesn't even barely know who Ezra Miller is, let alone what has transpired off camera. But I would say between that and the fact that we've now gotten kind of these up and down reviews that came out before maybe it came to fruition. Do you think that did anything to, persuade people to stay home and to check this out later? Or even just this DC crossover where it's like, well, this movie might be meaningless, so who cares?
I think that's a bigger part of it, to be honest with you, because again, Ezra Miller, and I'm a Ezra Miller fan as far as an actor goes, but now like your average fan is not going to know like the stuff he's into right now.
Sure.
I just think it's the end of the current DC chapter, and like you said, you got this and Aquaman just kind of hanging over our heads before we get in the Blue Beetle. I think that's the first one to officially kick off the James Gunn stuff. So I don't know, man. It's hard to put my finger on why this movie failed, because if you saw some of the early chatter, it was positive. So I'm like, all right, this is going to kind of snowball, and it didn't go anywhere. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's weird though that a lot of that early chatter was from basically DC, Warner Brothers, all the people being like, this is one of the greats. It's like, okay. Didn't even like Tom Cruise or somebody else big come out and say it? Your boy Tom Cruise there, Shane, didn't he come out and say like how much he enjoyed The Flash too or something?
Yeah, him and like Stephen King came out of the woodwork and was like, I never watched superhero movies, but this was a good one. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, so we're getting some positive buzz here, and it didn't go anywhere.
What do you think, Chamar? Do you think a lot of that plays in? Do you think there's any other factors of why this bombed so badly over the weekend?
I do think that a lot of it is stemming from the fact that, like, just as you said, DC is coming to the very end of its universe, and at least the storytelling that they're putting forward here. I think also this weekend that came out, it was a very competitive weekend in terms of where attention was going to go.
Right.
One thing I definitely know is that whenever you have a kids movie out there, and I believe that Disney just had Elemental that came out the same day.
Yep. Did a double feature on Father's Day. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. That already just splits the ticket right there, because now we're hoping that the older fan who is involved in the DC world is going to see this movie. And most of the time, if they are a parent, fortunately, the time is going to be split. So I think this is what happened here. Fortunately, I was able to go see it opening night. And as I mentioned I haven't seen that many kids that actually have gone to see this movie. I've actually seen a lot of people go on dates to see this movie. So The Flash may be a perfect date movie.
Well, in essence, though, for whatever faults we may have with it at any point in this conversation, the one thing I can say is it is kind of a standalone movie because of all these factors. So you would think that would help it. But honestly, if I was a person who was just coming into this movie, not cold, but relatively cold, like maybe you didn't watch the Justice League movies, but you kind of know what The Flash is all about. Even with that, there's a lot to know because of the multiverse stuff and all the references and everything else. And then obviously the characters who all come in and out of this movie or get folded into timelines later on. We'll get into all that Easter eggy weird madness at the end that occurred too. I think we've had 3 or 4 different Batmen in this movie. So take that for what it is. But yeah, I think it's a lot to take in for if you're an average moviegoer, when weirdly this movie should be the one that you could just show up and kind of understand. Did you get confused at all? I mean, like, you're deep in the knowledge, but like, did it seem like maybe the average person would be a little lost with this one?
Yeah, I do think there is. I think it's mostly just because of who is involved. Like we do know there are a ton of Batmen that pop up. I think for people who are in the world of it all, seen the couple movies, that these are great positive Easter eggs.
Right.
But I think that the concept of just everything that was happening, there was a lot that was just that makes it fun, makes it entertaining. And I've seen a movie like this done in a similar way, but I think that because there's so much more that was happening, especially given the fact that it is connected to this larger universe, I think that there's just these moments, unfortunately, that you can't go in completely blind with this movie.
For sure. And before we get into the movie, I just want to kind of give the primer for everybody else. This movie is, of course, The Flash, with Ezra Miller playing Barry Allen, also starring Michael Keaton as Batman, Ben Affleck as Batman, Sasha Calle as Supergirl, Michael Shannon reprising his role as General Zod, Ron Livingston as Henry Allen, Maribel Verdú as Nora Allen, and many, many others that we will get to that may or may not be spoilery, so I will leave them until we get deeper into it. This is directed by Andy Muschietti, who is the director of both It and It Chapter 2. This is written by Christina Hodson, who wrote Bumblebee and Birds of Prey. So not, too dissimilar in terms of projects, getting into the comic books and everything else, well-versed in that. The scores, before we put our own out there, 66 Rotten Tomatoes score on the critical side with an 86 Rotten Tomatoes score on the audience side. 56 Metascore, 7.4 IMDb, and a 3.1 on Letterboxd. This is the story of Barry Allen using his super speed to change the past, but his attempt to save his family creates a world without superheroes, forcing him to race for his life in order to save the future. Like I said, this is kind of a weird end piece for the prior regime, this and Aquaman, before we get to the James Gunn era. And it's weirdly a movie that is being sold primarily to the nerds of my generation and Shane's, because Chamar, you're a little younger than us, right? Like, how old are you?
Yeah, I just turned 32, so I'm
Bless your heart.
Yeah.
Not my knees though. I still have knee pain, so please.
Yeah. So I don't know if the Keaton Batman means that much to you, besides like maybe catching it in the home video era of things. Obviously, I don't know if that was one of the first movies I saw in theaters as a 41-year-old. I can imagine I don't know what your relationship to even that is, but it's weirdly that this movie, between the Back to the Future references and homages, Keaton's Batman, and some other a Superman later on that we could talk about that never actually happened, which is a bizarre twist in this one that they put out there. This one is being sold primarily to me and my generation, and yet I felt like I was easily like second screening, a little bit of boredom at times. I feel like when it wanted to have fun and kind of hang loose more in the middle, I thought it worked better than the bookends, where it actually had to try to make a cohesive story out of it. I don't know. Like, I'm very curious. Chamar, we'll start with you. What did you think of the film, and do you think we're in multiverse hell right now, where it's like you have the A+ version hanging out there with Spider-Verse, and then DC and MCU having a bit of a struggle?
Yeah, I do agree definitely on just the beginning and the end. I think the middle is great because it is at times very much what I definitely was looking for when I was coming into this movie. Every concept, everything that was brought up, every action that was taken, I was like, okay, yes, I appreciate the fact that you did this here.
Right.
I think that unfortunately for me, the beginning and the end just kind of feels very separate from the character himself, which was what really took me out of place for it. But during the middle, I was actually, a lot of the times I was on the edge of my seat leaning forward. I was just, a lot of times I go into a film, especially now with a lot of superhero films, there tends to be moments in which I do bust out laughing, or maybe I turn to the person who's next to me and kind of like chuckle at the Easter egg that pops up, or a comment that was made that is leading into that I know is leading into something else. With this, as I was watching, I was like, okay, there's a lot that's going on here that I see what's being done, how it's going. And that to me felt at times a lot like what I wanted to see in a Flashpoint movie.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was just the beginning and the end that just felt a little dissociated for me in the long run.
Yeah. And to me, like the dual Ezra Miller's, the dual Barry Allen's, I think was probably the largest source of the humor. Mm-hmm. And, even though, again, like sometimes they would be directly ripping Back to the Future or riffing on Back to the Future, that I don't know if maybe because it's one of my favorite movies that like I don't know, at times I was just like, come on, like, that movie, everybody's seen that movie, we know the beats you're doing, and then sometimes I'm like, I love this though. So I think I did go back and forth between like the massive amount of references and homages, and like I knew the Eric Stoltz thing too, like not a ton of people know that stuff, it's kind of an inside joke, but it's kind of fun to deal with. But yeah, I feel like that was definitely the best of it, between that and the intro to Keaton and all those things in the middle, and then kind of the other stuff felt a little, I don't know, fast and loose. My biggest problem, Shane, maybe you could do your broad overview, of course, but I'm interested to know exactly on a lot of these comic book movies have this issue too, but the lack of ticking clock or villain to stop them for most of the film makes it seem like they're kind of, sleepwalking, or it's a different type of film. There's no urgency in a lot of this movie until all of a sudden we're in like World War III, So it's a weird movie in terms of pacing and all that stuff. So what'd you think of the movie, and what'd you think of like that particular issue?
Overall, I think I came away with this movie liking it more than I think both of you did.
Okay.
I didn't really have a problem. The middle was the best part, so I agree there. The end did get a little repetitive and a little drawn out. I wish they would have like tightened the ending up just a little bit.
Right.
But I was into it overall. And overall, when this movie got done, I had a good time. It was funny. In the spots that it chose to be funny, I thought Ezra Miller pulled off, made me laugh several times. Mm-hmm. And I just had to write a note because I always listen, I like the Flash CW show as well. Now, it's been a while since I've seen it. But I have to laugh when they wanted Grant Gustin to play him on the big screen. And after watching Ezra Miller, I like Grant, but he's suited to the small screen. Ezra Miller's just a better actor. I'm sorry when it comes down to it. And the Michael Keaton stuff was my favorite part of the movie. Crushed it as Batman.
Sure. Yeah.
But I thought this was going to be more Flashpoint driven. And I guess that's where they pulled the old okey doke on me, because they had elements of the movie, but I thought we'd get like some reverse Flash-ish kind of stuff. I thought that's where we're heading. And like you said, there really was no villain until we get to Zod in the last act there.
Yeah.
So, but overall though, I didn't have a hang up with it because I was purely entertained at that point. I will say real quick, can we stop with the Wonder Woman cameos at this point? With
yes, please.
Stuff? Oh, like that whole scene was pointless. And I'm like, all right, do we have to just like throw her in everything now? Like, yeah, that took me out a little bit. But
well, considering she may not be returning in that role, I think maybe it was just a thank you nod at this point.
Yeah, but didn't they do that for Shazam 2? They threw in there at the end of that damn movie too. Like, come on, man.
Another bad movie.
But, yeah. Overall, though, I did enjoy 75 to 80% of this movie, to be honest with you. I got done. I'm like, this is probably better than anything Marvel's put out since Endgame, to be honest with you.
You mean DC?
That's my... No, I just meant comic book movies in general.
You're just saying overall. Yeah, okay.
Oh. I enjoyed this more than Guardians 3, to be quite honest with you. So I would go see this again.
Yeah, I mean, I liked, not loved Guardians 3, but I would say that's a better movie. Because again, the way they had a clear villain the whole time. In fact, if anything, they belabored the villain connection, the Rocket stuff a little bit more than I would think. But to me, when you mentioned Zod, they the one thing that makes me laugh about this movie is that they're like, oh God, Zod is here. He's got his, plane or his spaceship, whatever, just hanging there. Oh man, it's about to get nuts. let's go on a field trip where we're going to go try to find Batman, Superman. We're going to go like all over the place, and we're not going to be like, oh my God, we got to get back. Like, how are we going to stop Zod? Like, no conversations about Zod the whole time. It's like nothing was happening in the background of their little field trip that I was just like, okay. So it's very nice of Zod, I thought, to just hang tight like it's a rival, where that spaceship just kind of hung over everybody's heads and just was like, you come to us, all right? You come to us. We're just going to hang out. We got like satellite TV here. We're good. We're going to just, watch the ball game or something. But like, I don't know what they're doing up there, but they slow played it and even went out and talked, like negotiating, apparently, for trying to get, well, we'll get to the Supergirl and the Superman whole thing with that. But obviously he's here for a reason. So, Chamar, do you think they had a villain problem at all?
No, I definitely feel like they definitely did. I think, and that's where I felt a little like Zod wasn't a great villain for this film, just because, yes, he is creating, as you said, the World War III moment.
Right.
But a lot of it is like, okay, you must have watched Man of Steel in order to understand why Zod has to be this big problem.
Yeah.
Which I wish they did kind of include something, and they did. Well, actually, before I say that, because I guess that might have been a spoiler about the connection between how Barry came into play here.
Right.
But I think that this movie just more is a more fun team up where it is kind of like Barry's way of saying that, like, I'm going to create my own Justice League because we are experiencing this problem. But I do agree it was the partial villain reveal I did think it was nice. I think it was done. It was a really nice way to see that play out and how it built out.
Right.
But because it felt like it came so late in the story, I felt if not, maybe I could have predicted that turning out the way it was. And I would prefer it if it wasn't that obvious or that late. I wish it was just maybe just a scene or two earlier.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I kept thinking about, because I agree. If you're going to take a villain, Zod coming back is an odd choice because you're going back even further than, and then before we first saw the Flash in this universe, in the DCEU, and then obviously we're going back to Man of Steel, which is, ancient at this point, it feels like, and the end, which we kind of, for anybody who either knows the Flashpoint story or have watched the Flash TV show or any of these other things, read the comics, to know that some version of, a speedster would show up makes sense. I don't know if they should have just been more streamlined with the movie and just make it about another speedster, but instead they tried to add the Supergirl element, to add these other things, which, by the way, I keep thinking to myself, when am I actually spoiling something? Because the trailers have been so much about, let's not talk about the Flash in this Flash movie trailer, that we're showing everything else, the existence of Zod, showing multiple Batmans, the Keaton thing. I actually listened to a podcast the other night where they were talking about how, wouldn't it be so awesome if we didn't know Michael Keaton was in the movie? And then we just show up and we go, holy shit, he's here and he's a big part of this movie. That would have been, kind of like this juice that would have had for an initial experience of the film. But instead, I felt like I walked in and I already knew, between what the OG Flashpoint story versions I've seen over the years have come out, plus the trailer giving you everything because they're like, sorry for Ezra Miller here, please come to this movie still anyway. So they hard sold this movie. So I don't know. I felt like I had seen the movie before I got there. Shay, I know you're being more forgiving to this, but do you have any of that kind of feeling? Like, a lot of the stuff that was in there was already known to us?
Yeah, and I think it goes to the whole Ezra Miller thing. It's like, okay, we can't, because again, he didn't promote this movie really at all until like the opening night. They had him on the red carpet. So it's like, I think they were like, all right, what's the biggest selling point to this movie? And you pointed out earlier, it's Michael Keaton. It's Michael Keaton's Batman.
Yeah.
That are going to get people like me and you into the seats. And thank God he was in this movie, because like, again, he was the best part. Like, holy shit. Like, and I even like the actress who played Supergirl. I did too. Never saw her in anything.
Nope.
I looked her up. She was on Young and the Restless, which I used to be part of Genuine City a long time ago, but I hopped off.
Got you here too, Shane. I got you here too.
Yeah,
summer vacations.
But no, she coming from a soap opera to like this is the first thing I've seen her in. Really, I thought she did a commendable job portraying Supergirl.
Yeah, Chamar, you're more deep into the comic books and everything else too. Has there been an incarnation of Supergirl who has that look?
Yes. I'm trying to. There have been once or twice. There has been a Supergirl that has had the darker hair.
Right.
I'm trying to remember the runs right now, but they're fading from me. But this is also the first time I also agree. I think her portrayal of Supergirl was really well done.
Yeah.
I do like the demeanor that she kind of brought to it because it is synonymous to like the Supergirl story that I've always wanted to hear, which is like she wants to be aligned with humanity, but then there is something holding her back. So it was just like this created a really nice dynamic for her,
right? Especially
in this film and especially for the character of Supergirl. But yeah, other than that, this is the first time that I've seen definitely live action where she has this darker hair that isn't just a wig or from like the CW. Yeah. So it is nice to see that this is popping up.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I really, because I grew up with the Supergirl movie, and I've obviously seen bits and pieces of the CW show as well. So, and obviously besides the comics and everything, it's always been the longer blonde flowing hair. So, I didn't know if there has been there is some precedent for it, or whether they just went with the best actress who can pull off the role, which is fine too, I guess. But it didn't throw me off because again, she was so compelling. It's weird that she comes in so late because they want to do so much with the dueling berries and Keaton and everything else that it takes a while to get to her. And then like once she's here, it's like, okay, cool, she's gonna just run roughshod and do her thing, but we don't know a lot about her and her difference between her and like a traditional Superman character or any of those things. So I don't know. Again, I always think of like the general audience character who's just like, wait, what? And multiverse stuff is going to have that happen already, right? A little bit. The spaghetti in the bowl, right? Like that. Right. I feel like the general audience's brains felt like a little bit of the mushed up, spaghetti that he dumped out too a little bit. But I will say for myself that the things I thought that worked the best, that besides what we've already said, is, there is a moment when, like, the ending I don't think fully works because it felt, inherently repetitive, or, I didn't feel the connection with the Zod stuff, and it feels very messy in terms of, like, the U.S. Army's there, they're there, the alien army that has no, they're all in black and faceless for the most part and whatever, like there's no connection. It actually feels, it's like literally the remnants of the Snyder look of things, where everything was like dark and bleak and whatever else, but they're fighting in broad daylight, so it has that weird contrast. But there was a moment there when, Supergirl is kind of facing off with Zod. She hears something she doesn't want to hear. I don't want to spoil that part yet either. But, she goes nuclear on Zod, and then it like kind of flips, and then it's Keaton's Batman in a plane doing like some Star Wars AT-AT knocking stuff down and getting into that. And like that's when I was like, yeah, this fucking rips. But it was way too late in the game. And then they immediately go back and all the connections are lost, or we have to go through multiple time loop stuff and everything else. And, this movie has stops and starts all over the place. And I think that's really what the tempo of things really drove me crazy. Shane, for a person who, like, again, you liked it a little bit more, did the romantic interest stuff with Ezra Miller, the journalist, West, all that stuff, like, does that do anything? Because I mean, again, for anyone who watched the Flash show on CW, we get the long drawn out romance and the extra stuff with that. And honestly, I thought a better actress in the CW version. So this felt very just thrown in there.
I forgot she was even in the movie till you just said that.
Yeah. It was like, wait, Iris is in the movie?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Yeah.
Now that you pointed out, yeah, to me that just kind of seemed thrown in there last minute. They could have just like replaced her with another character, and they would have flowed the same way. Like,
yeah,
honestly, I didn't even think about her once the movie was over. Like, they didn't do enough to like make you care about them as a potential couple.
Yeah. I feel like the first 20 minutes of the movie just feels kind of like they almost threw that in last. Like, it feels like one of those moments where they're like, we don't have enough action in this movie, or we don't have enough things going on. So they create these like multiple scenarios where multiple superhero characters, you know, Justice League characters have to chime in and be seen and have conversations just to kind of set a tone that honestly didn't pay off with everything later, because it's, you know, it's Barry off doing his own thing like that. The movie could have started pretty close to where, you know, Barry's at work, talks to Bruce Wayne about, you know, the going back in time, like him discovering that whole thing, and then bam, that's the start. Like, that first 20 minutes, while, you know, entertaining in spots, I thought felt very kind of like shoved in there on purpose to be like, yeah, we got you past Justice League characters of old. Chamar, how did you feel about how it kind of got into the story?
Yeah, Andrew and I, we both agreed on that. It just didn't feel like a Flash movie at that point.
Yeah.
It felt more like Batman is experiencing a problem and now he can't handle it, so he calls in everybody else.
Right, yeah.
So it does feel that, and that's the way I felt, like that disjointed feeling of, like, this doesn't feel as if we're really diving into who the Flash is, who Barry is. It does just feel, and there is, I hope it's not too much of a spoiler, because it actually is. It's a comment that actually has been done several times, I think, and not only just in the adaptation of Flashpoint throughout different medias, but Barry did state that he does feel like the janitor of the Justice League.
Right.
And this is what it kind of felt like. It didn't really feel like, it just really, as you said, it just feels like it was thrown in. Barry isn't really here to do anything except just to try to clean up something enough so that we jump right into the rest of the story that we're missing out on.
Sure. And for such a personal story, I think that's why it's such an odd opening to me. And for what it ends, it also doesn't feel super personal. Like, you have this stuff with his father, and obviously why he did all this stuff for his family in the first place, of course. But I don't know, man, for how much I like Ron Livingston or any of these other pieces of the family stuff in the movie, I don't know. I just felt this movie just lacked a certain cohesion, a certain chemistry, a certain connection to me, that I just felt like I was just walking through this movie. I didn't feel like I was like, oh no, if so-and-so dies, I'm going to be real upset. Honestly, anything could have happened. I would have been like, all right, because I didn't feel it. And again, because either the characters are older, where I wouldn't have cared because their time has passed in movie history or timelines or whatever you want to call it, or we're talking about something that, you know, I don't have this big, large connection to, because even though this movie is called The Flash, it almost acts like, you know, how Captain America Civil War is a Captain America movie, but it's really not. It's kind of an Avengers movie. That's what this kind of is. And what's weird is that, again, we're talking a personal storyline for Barry, but it involves so many other people and really doesn't get too deep on him a lot of the time for a 2.5 hour long movie. So that's, I think, really what kind of bothered me as it went through. Before we get to kind of like scores or any of these things, and maybe some spoilery stuff, did you guys have anything else burning to say on it? Whether, Shane, you want to defend it at all, or because I keep probably talking about more negatives than anything. You know, I don't know. Do you guys have any lingering thoughts before we put our scores out there on this one?
No, I think I'm good until we get to the spoilery kind of stuff. But no, I get everything you're saying. But again, maybe it was the headspace I was in that Thursday afternoon. I had a great time with this movie. I didn't nitpick it too much because it has its issues. But overall, I had a fun time. And the pacing didn't really bother me. I don't think I looked at my watch one time, except for the end when it got repetitive towards the end. But overall, I don't have a big issue with this movie. Because again, maybe because I've seen all the Flashpoint stuff before. I do know the character, so like having that family stuff didn't really bother me, and I did look at it as more of a Civil War kind of collaborative movie with Supergirl and Batman sharing equal time with the Flash. So it didn't that part didn't really bother me.
Okay, Chamar, anything on your brain?
Yeah, for me it's just seeing how many different ways that some of the Flashpoint comic stuff actually pops up. This might jump into the spoiler section, so I'm willing to wait to that. But it did. I did feel like there was some things that was done right in terms of what I was looking for Flashpoint, but then it just felt like just something about it. I think it might have been pacing. It might have been, I don't know, maybe I did go in still a little upset about all the news with Ezra Miller, or
sure,
being the fact that I was able to get a ticket that easily. It just felt some anger and anxiety about that.
Right.
But I think other than that, that's really just it. It has its moments, and also didn't have its moments, unfortunately. So
yeah, and I don't want to. I don't want to glaze over the Ezra Miller thing. Obviously there's a lot of horrible things that were out there, and they were in and out of rehab and on trial, and the stuff in Hawaii, if you dig deep in it, it's pretty gnarly. So I don't want to minimize, but I also don't want to get too in the weeds, considering, this is a movie and we're trying to analyze the movie, but it is hard to separate at times, and especially for certain people who, get really triggered by the stuff that he was doing. And, I would imagine, we didn't talk about it as far as the box office too much, but it is a component that I'm sure a lot of people maybe just stayed home on this one because they were like, screw him, Ezra Miller. But I think for as much of a dip it did, I think it's more honestly the DC stuff with the James Gunn and also, Ezra Miller's not a big draw. Like, it's weird that you get the Flash movie in general, but I don't know. I don't know if people had too much Flash already with CW. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws now. But we can let's get into the scores. I'll start with Shane so we can get off on a higher foot before. Because honestly, I'm a little squirrely with my grade at the moment. So I guess I will purposely leave myself last. So what do you got, Shane?
I wouldn't have graded it this high, but you've kind of already I think about you when I'm comparing other movies of this genre, because gosh damn it, if I gave Thor Love and I think I gave it a 3.5 or a 3.
Right.
In my opinion, this is better than that one. I mean,
interesting.
If I could cheat, I'm not going to cheat. I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm giving it a 4.
Oof.
I'm giving it a 4 out of 5.
Wow. Yeah, I understand the perplexing thought of trying to stay loyal to your scoring. We've had that conversation many times in this arena to do that, where I kind of look at all right, well, was it this? Was it this? I think it is as kind of messy, complicated in that zone of Thor Love and Thunder a little bit, but I liked, again, where you're I like some of the performances, but this storyline is baffling and uneven and however it goes. So it's actually a decent comp when you think about it. Chamar, where's your head at with we usually do out of 5 stars. So where are you sitting with that?
Yeah, I'm sitting at a 3, and this is just mainly because I did have fun at times going into this movie. Right. I did visually, I think it looked pretty cool, and a lot of concepts that was put together. I think there's just some big things, just the fact that it's just it does feel like you must have a wealth of DC knowledge in order to appreciate the movie at times. So that's what usually knocks my score down by 1 point, because it's no way that you can, the fact that you have to have at least 30 years of knowledge just feels a little tough for me.
For sure.
And I think the beginning and the middle, the beginning and the end just threw me off so much that, the middle just really does it way better than how it feels just being so repetitive. Right. So that's why I'm giving a 3 out of 5 here.
Yeah, and if I'm echoing Shane's thoughts of trying to stay around certain periods, I feel like in the same breath of, I think I gave Ant-Man Quantumania 3 stars, maybe, where I'm I feel a little bit soft on that one too. Where this one, I kind of feel the same way, where I'm like, three? When I'm like 2/3 of the movie is kind of meh to me, at least. So I'm like, ugh, God, that feels hard to say. So on its best day, it's a 3. And I'm like in that 2.753. You know me and how I love to cheat and hedge and everything else, Shane. So you know I'm going to, you've seen it coming, so it's going to be that way. But yeah, it's a middling movie. And the sad part is that for DC, because there's a lot of, in the Snyderverse version, the DCEU version, it's a pretty low bar. So I don't know if you guys have, I don't have mental rankings the way I do the MCU, but especially because certain DCEU movies, I just kind of not abstain, but or like I'll wait until home and then I go, this is trash, and then never watch it again. So like it's hard. I haven't had to like put grades on it as much. But to me, the sad fact is in the current DCEU, it's probably one of the better ones, but that's a bad sign overall, I think, more than it is like a commentary of giving this movie praise. So does anybody have like kind of a good comp in terms of the DCU? Like, is it high in the rankings? Is it comparable to like other DCU movies?
As you just stated, the bar, they haven't been putting out a lot of good stuff. So the bar is pretty low. So if you want to go into that context, it is one of the upper tier ones, I'd have to say.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Because to me, you got the James Gunn Suicide Squad that I really enjoyed. That's probably the best one they've released up into this current movie, The Flash. But I enjoyed Suicide Squad more than The Flash, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd still be upper tier though. But I'm weird like that because I did like Batman versus Superman. I didn't mind Man of Steel.
I was meh on Man of Steel. I hated Batman versus Superman, but I hear you. But yeah.
But probably first Wonder Woman could be one of their best. And again, at the end of that movie, you had a CGI mess at the end of that movie.
Third act problem, bad CGI.
So yeah, I don't know.
And a villain issue,
Right.
So, but not as bad as this one, I would think.
Yeah, I don't think this movie is. I mean, I know it's definitely better than Black Adam. That's my feelings on it.
We can all agree there. Yeah, Black Adam didn't happen, Chamar. Okay, that was a fever dream you had, same as me, where I was like, "Why am I doing this to myself?" Yeah.
For me, I think to compare it, I probably had the same feeling that I had watching Shazam 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I do think that there are a lot of moments in which I felt entertained. Visually, I liked some of the stuff.
Right.
It's just the wrap up. Some of at the very end, it just wasn't where I felt satisfied with the film.
Right.
And especially for Flash, there was just I left with questions.
Right.
Versus feeling like, all right, I'm good. I don't need to know anymore. In fact, I could rewatch this movie, which I actually will rewatch this movie.
Right.
But I just want my questions answered the first time that I watch it.
Sure. Yeah. Especially, again, when you're talking about a movie that we're probably, I don't know if they're going to move forward with Ezra Miller. I doubt it for all the stuff that they've gone through and the fact that this movie bombed, comparatively speaking. And then, obviously with the new regime and James Gunn, that I don't know what they're going to do, especially with how they're kicking it off. I don't know what their plans are. It's very squirrely. And the fact that we're like, oh yeah, one of the best parts in there is Supergirl. Cool. We'll never see her again. It's like she's in a whole other world, another timeline. No one cares. And it's just done. Okay. Yeah. It's tough to judge this movie. Or judge where the DC... every time we talk about an MCU movie, Shane and I kind of, look at each other and go, what is the state of the MCU? And, where are we in this phase and this and that? DCEU is so messed up right now that there's no point in talking about it. And, okay, we're now, hey, everybody, you're 45 minutes into a review podcast. You're lucky you made it this long without us spoiling everything. So we're just going to rip off the Band-Aid. There's your spoiler alert and everything else. The fact that we get, Aquaman in the after credit scene, I'm like, just It made no sense. It does nothing to carry over. And I think he's only there just to remind people, hey, remember, there's an Aquaman movie coming at some point. Because, Chamar, like, that didn't do anything for you. Like, it didn't signal anything, right?
It did create a little bit of fear because at the end, he does seem to be drowning in a pool of water. And it did take me like 3 seconds to remember that he could probably breathe in that.
Yeah.
But it was just weird to see Aquaman basically blackout drunk, and Barry is the one that is taking care of him. So it just, yeah, I do agree. It's like, hey, Aquaman is coming out. Just know that it's coming sometime soon. This still exists in this universe. Just, I wish though that they just flipped it around, because now it's just like these leftover strands of this world where it feels like everything might have changed, given the fact that we have that crazy cameo of Bruce Wayne now.
Yeah, George Clooney back in the fold. Welcome back, George Clooney and bat nipples and whatever else we're going to get back in the fold from this. The only thing I would say, and Shane, I don't know if you're scared of it at all, is that where this movie ends, like you said, we're getting cameos. It's not the same timeline. Is Aquaman 2 going to exist in that universe? Or are we going back to the original timeline of things? Did Barry screw anything? Is there any cohesion anymore? I don't know.
I'm confused. I don't know. If you listen to James Gunn, he said this movie's going to reset everything. I don't see how it did. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like they said, they screwed up the universe already. I'm so mad I waited 10 minutes to watch that stupid, pointless scene at the end of the movie.
Same.
Like, it just felt like a deleted scene like you'd find on a DVD.
Right.
That's exactly how I felt. I'm like, why is this here? And I'm done. I'm done from now on. Waiting. I'll just go to the internet and see I'll read about the post-credit scenes. I'm done. It didn't do anything for me. Oh God, so in the Clooney thing, I'm like, okay, that was a little fun nod, but I'm like, okay.
Right, but is this now canon? What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm confused. I'm just confused at this point. It's I understood where they went. Like a nice little fun for people who remember Clooney as Batman. And we'll get into all the Superman and other Batman stuff. But that part didn't bother me. I know a lot of people were mad because of the CGI and the technology they used to create that scene. It didn't. I wasn't bothered by it.
In what scene? What did I miss?
Yeah.
Bringing George Reeves, bringing
all that stuff. The Nick Cage,
all that stuff.
You want to get into the Nick Cage,
the Christopher Reeve, all that, using someone who's passed away,
right?
In that,
yeah.
I don't know if it bothered you guys. It didn't bother me because the scene lasted 10 seconds with Christopher Reeves, 15 seconds,
and
at
it's
most.
A context of them within kind of this,
right?
In the timelines and all this stuff. It's not like he interacted with people. It's not like they emoted. They didn't have lines. So
it didn't bother me.
Or if they did, they used archived, almost like the George Reeves one, especially felt like almost like it sounded like it was coming from a radio story. It had that kind of old vibe to it. So again, I didn't take that as interaction or anything beyond that.
And I did appreciate the fact that they did get the Christopher Reeves and the original actress that plays Supergirl on the same screen together. Because I watched the movie when I was younger, the Supergirl movie, but I remember that there was hardly, if any, connection between the two. It was just always mentions of my cousin. And in fact, I think at one point they even tried to change up the story a bit. So the fact that they finally had an opportunity to bring the two of them together, I was like, that's kind of what I wanted to see. Didn't know I needed it, but I knew that I deserved it. So.
Yeah, right. There was no world building back then, and if anything, they would just kind of rip up old things and just do whatever the hell they wanted. So yeah, it's a nice little nod. And yes, somewhere Kevin Smith is smiling that Nick Cage is Superman or whatever too. So good for you, buddy. But yeah, again, we just saw Spider-Verse do this in a smaller way, a different way, way better, which made me smile. And this one I was like, okay. I felt nothing. I was just like, oh, so we're just doing that. Cool. That's fun. But I wasn't into it as much. And I think just because I was exhausted by the story and the movie by that point, that I was just like, okay, unless this has ramifications for something else, all you're doing is giving me a clip show of my it's like my life flashing before my eyes, but only in what I watched in DC products over the years. So I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot for me. And again, we're not going to see much either. If anything, come on, man. You couldn't pay Nick Cage to actually be in there and be Nick Cage as Superman for a minute.
I mean, he might have been too busy doing Renfield, so.
Yeah. I guess he's too busy because he's just doing 800 movies a year that go straight to home video practically. So, it's a tough gig. But, yeah, again, we kind of like stayed to this point, to get to the spoilers. But honestly, there's not a ton of spoilers. Like, there's some of the Back to the Future stuff I thought was too much. In fact, like the fact that we got Michael Keaton basically playing Doc Brown at one point. Did you see him in the jumpsuit and they're talking about lightning and doing the whole thing? Like, I get it. And the fact that we had to go through the Eric Stoltz thing a million times and that whole conversation with his roommates and whatever else. Like, okay, I get it. Especially, we were on the heels of, didn't Endgame also say Back to the Future was full of shit and try to rip them apart in Endgame as well?
Yeah,
because they were talking about time travel and saying they were full of shit.
So all the rules of time travel and how like Back to the Future, none of it actually made sense, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So I guess like I don't know. Just get over it. Everybody's doing the same fucking thing right now, and it's killing me because between Spider-Verse and Everything Everywhere All at Once showed you how multiverse can be used, but to tell a good personal story, and hopefully we're going to get more of it with Beyond the Spider-Verse too. And how does the MCU and DCEU fuck this up so bad? It's like, you were the OGs. The comics are there. You just ignored the entire stories because I think they're overthinking at this point. Does anyone feel that is the case? Am I being too proud of other multiverse stuff, or am I just sick of it? Are you guys sick of it?
I'm a little sick of it. I'm a little tired of it. But like you said, Spider-Verse shows you how to do it well.
Yeah.
And you did it well for 2 movies, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it just seems like, especially with MCU, and I won't go too far in the weeds, it's like after the blip happened, it's like they didn't know what to do at that point.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think they knew what to do beyond the blip storyline,
yeah,
and bringing everyone back and how that all connected, and they just fucked it up even worse with the Doctor Strange stuff and Spider-Man. I mean,
the Disney Plus editions and making more and more stuff and having to tie everything. It's a lot. It's a messy.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just confused and I just don't care about it anymore. Like I really don't.
Right.
Give me some standalone movies. I'll be happy. I'll be happy with some standalone movies that aren't connected to different timelines and universes and blah 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 blah.
Which is why I was excited for this one. It kind of let me down. And honestly, I have no affinity for Aquaman, so the second one of that is going to be probably a miss. Although we'll probably end up covering it here because we'll be bored in August or whatever the hell that comes out. I forget when it comes out. Oh no, didn't they push that to like the end of the year?
I think now it's in December now. So
yeah,
it's a little great Christmas present for those who celebrate.
Of course. But Chamar, are you multiverse out? I know, like, because you guys cover the gamut with DC animated, where it's like, I don't know, I almost envy you where you get to kind of like dip your toe in the various ways like comic books have been, and not being, driven by whatever they're kind of haphazardly putting together in the final stages of old regimes. So where are you at with multiversal storytelling and all that stuff?
I think I'm at a point where it's just, I feel like I can navigate it enough that I can pinpoint when something isn't good. So I'm still for it. I'm still for the multiverse storytelling. There's comic wise, there was a good, well, I don't want to say good. There was a recent run of another multiverse kind of crisis moment in DC.
Okay.
So that's where it's just like, all right, we're still deep into this world. I think where for seeing it played out in cinema and on film, I realize now that I'm no longer looking for the shocking moments of just like, wow, this, I didn't expect the story to go this way. Now I'm just like, just give me exactly what was already created before. Just
give me the cinematic version, right?
Yeah, like I know for like, especially for Flash, I was just like, I know I want to see, and there's that scene in which she's in the chrono ball, I believe as he calls it, as he sees another Flash. And I was just like, just give me Grant Gustin there. And
Sure.
not this, apparently, as they're calling it, a nondescript actor that we just randomly put AI into that happens to look very much like the Jay Garrick season 2 version of The Flash. And it's just like all of this is just, I think when I just want the story to just follow where I'm planning to, having these, that's when it just doesn't work out for me. But having it, knowing that like, hey, there is a moment where like everything all at once and Across the Spider-Verse, so it's just like I see the little nods of which like I can see where things are popping up, but also know that that's not going to be the main thing. Like you said, just give me that character development along with a crazy multiversal story where it's just like at one scene he may have like a dark costume instead of a bright costume. That's it.
Yeah. Give me hot dog fingers, but also give me like a crying moment where parents are connecting with their children.
Yes, I want to see a Rock being emotional. That's all I want to see.
By the way, for Shane, for your purposes, I did go with the Eric Stoltz fan club intro, but I did write down while I was doing it to make myself laugh. Hugging random ladies in a store before it was cool was my alternate intro. So in another timeline, I also burned you for hugging women in grocery stores. So if you like that too, we can get Barry to run back in time, and I can go back and redo the intro. So the one other thing is we also have other speedsters too, and like the Quicksilver thing, I thought of immediately when they were. I thought of the Jim Croce Time in a Bottle version of when we saw Quicksilver and that how fun that was and cool. And there was a moment in this movie where Barry, I think the new Barry, the younger Barry, I guess if we want to call it that, did like a slowed down learning stuff where they kind of maneuvered pieces around, I think, and had more fun with it, right? Like I'm trying to remember because I wrote the note and now I'm like I can't even remember the scene.
That was that's like a small part of what was my favorite part of the movie. It's just like it really kind of gave a bit of an origin story for Barry,
right?
A little bit, because we never really got a chance to see how it was for him learning to use these powers, the accidents that happened. So here it is that we have an older version of Barry trying to tell younger Barry, please don't face to the floor because you will be naked. That I liked. And I think that scene in which he is dodging some gunfire and uses Barry's body to manipulate him in a way so that he's also dodging it. I was like, that's perfect. That is really nice. I was really hoping to see something like that, especially when you have a whole film dedicated to speedsters and time travel. So
yeah, for sure. And I didn't. Some people have complained about the graphics with the or the visual effects stuff with the speedster things and everything else. I thought it was fine. I think there was some of that, like the whole going back in time and having the theater of timelines or stuff was a unique choice. I didn't love or hate it. I just kind of was like, okay, this I guess is a decent way of we couldn't do a Zoom call, I guess, so we got this instead, setting up all the timelines in their own little sections, like an amphitheater of your past mistakes. So that's cool. Just don't ever do that with my dating history. But I don't know. This is a tough one because for a movie that I thought had a lot of issues and it's not really a part of like any kind of cohesive storyline front and back or anything else, I just don't know where I'm gonna put this. Like I'm just gonna kind of throw it over my shoulder and go see you again somewhere down the road because we're done with it, and it's a standalone that isn't good enough that I feel will just get kind of lost. So I don't know if you still feel that way, Shane, even though you gave it a higher score, but do you feel like you're gonna return to this?
Yeah, I will watch this. I'll probably watch this several more times. I mean, not right away, of course, but I do want to see it again in the theaters before it exits. But I can't. I can picture myself watching this multiple times throughout a year. I liked it that much. I was just entertained, and that's the point of it. Like, listen, anytime there's like, doesn't matter what's on the background, like the Incredible Hulk, it gets left on. So I watch terrible movies more than one time throughout the year.
Yeah.
So if I've seen Birds of Prey 5 times already, I'm probably going to see The Flash probably a little bit more than that. So, yes.
Yeah, we get it, Shane.
I have issues.
You have TNT. Issues. I get it. And a lot of free time in the afternoon. So good for you. All right, so before we get out of here, of course, we have our wonderful guest, Chamar. Thank you so much for being with us. Give us the scoop on yet another DC animated podcast. Tell us what's going on there and where the people can find you.
Yeah, and once again, I just want to say I'm really happy to be here, get a chance to talk and hang out with you guys, talking about the Flash movie, especially because we're at yet another DC animated podcast where we drop an episode pretty much every week. We are talking about every single form of DC content that's out there. So we just both felt, we grew up watching DC animation. We were especially want to make sure that animated storytelling gets this moment in the limelight, and DC animation was that for us. So we've covered things such as the entire DCEU, which starts off with Flashpoint Paradox. So we get a great chance to see that story play out there. Right. We've covered some shows like Static Shock. We've done a sweet or sour season where we just go through all of DC animation history from when it first started up until 2022 now. And right now we're continuing on with our coverage of Young Justice. So this is a fan favorite series that I feel like everybody at some point has some connection to. Right. And right now we are just diving in. We just started, we're about to start season 3 of the show very soon. But yeah, you can find us pretty much everywhere you can find your podcast. I think we're also somewhere on, maybe on Google Plus somewhere as well. But also on the social medias, you can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Excellent. I know Andrew would have loved to have him on here, but he knows the rules. There's only one Andrew that could survive, so I understand. He just bowed out, didn't want to go Highlander rules. I get it. It's fine by me, man, but he was missed. You guys do a great show, so everybody go check out yet another DC animated podcast, which, of course, is on Forgotten Entertainment Network. So you could go to their website as well and find our podcast, their podcast, and any of the other wonderful shows that are on our network. Shane, I'm scared for what we probably have coming next. I mean, there's some gems that will be coming up very soon. I mean, for next week, honestly, I'm more excited that there's a movie that is literally just a Shane movie that comes out called God is a Bullet that I sent you where I was just like, this is the most Shane movie I've ever seen, including the title. So between that, there's some, No Hard Feelings, Asteroid City, Past Lives. There's a few of those things that I'm looking forward to. I don't know at what stage in their platforming, whether Connecticut will be getting certain ones of those or not this week. So we'll see. And then we got Indiana Jones coming up. I'm looking forward to Joyride, but literally we're just looking forward to the end of July, really, with Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, and Barbie, which is going to be more the best part of the peak summer at that point. So, because I'll say this. I love how we're talking about The Flash, because yes, it is the most topical story. But what we should be talking about is how awesome Extraction 2 was. Shane, did you get around to it?
I did.
You didn't like it? You're killing me.
No. It's self-explanatory. I love it. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm a big Hemsworth guy. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the first one, but I
disagree.
Yeah,
I thought they amped it up. I was good.
I don't know. I'm in the same boat where it's just like I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, but that's also probably because I was very upset with one character's decisions throughout the entire film.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably just what it is.
Oh man, it's not. Is it spoilery? Because I'm kind of interested now. I gave it quite the glowing review. My What's on Netflix.com review. You guys can check that out. I thought this because. Shane, you would love this too, especially because we're old geezers. I had a movie trailer guy voice in my head where I was like, Tyler Rake is back, and it's personal. So like I had that stuck in my head, and I was like, yeah, but it is, and it made for a better story. Right. So I actually dug that more. So I'm curious to know what character though, Chamar.
It's Sardo. I was very upset with the fact that from the very beginning, he sees exactly what's going on and still continues to just say, I want to go back with my dad. And fortunately,
it's always a kid character.
It's always a kid character.
They always suck. But I know that going in. So I'm like, okay, he's going to make a dumb move. We're all just going to be like, yeah, fathers and sons, tale as old as time. Fine. But at least, He's there to just bounce off Tyler because Tyler's got the history of his own child. So that's all it was. That's all he needed to be there for. Who cares? Dude, they blew up like 4 helicopters in this movie. I don't know the budget of this movie, but all I know is it was fucking dope as hell.
It is on par with Oppenheimer. I'm 90% sure of that. That's what I know.
And that is a great way to end it. Thank you so much again, Chamar, for being here. Be sure to come back next week and also go and rate, review, do the whole thing. But we will be here, hopefully, again next week for more recent activity.